They've chosen to do this on the issue of Israel, which is a 90-10 issue. They think they can bully Democrats, and they can bully some Democrats, right? But they think they can bully all Democrats into submission. This is exactly the problem. The guys that have caused this issue, the people that have taken control over the Democratic Party since the Clinton era, the third way neoliberals, they know that they're losing their grip. They know that they're losing their influencing capabilities, and they're losing a massive vehicle for billionaires and corporate interests to be able to continue manipulating the Democratic Party and using it in whichever way they see fit. And they're desperately swinging wildly, but because of their overall inability to read the room, because of their lack of understanding of where people are right now, to make the wrong choice.
You might say, okay, well, at least Dems like Democrats. Not the case. Look at this. The majority of Democrats are independents who lean Democrats. Look at this. 55% say no, congressional Democrats do not have the right priorities. And then you just see a minority, 45% of Democrats say that congressional Democrats have the right priorities. This to me just jumps out at the screen because it screams primary challenges all over the map. And it says that even if Democrats don't like Donald Trump, they don't like their own party either when it comes.
And that's what it is. There are primary challenges, right? There are primary challenges, many of which I'm backing myself. Many of those primary challenges this community is leaning into. For the longest time, a lot of these liberals would say, oh, you and your community don't vote. That's never been the case, right? We vote. You and your community don't participate in politics. You don't understand how politics works. We do participate in politics. We do understand how politics work. Now that we're actually taking advantage of the instability in an effort to put forward candidates that are more responsive to the needs of the working class, all of a sudden it's a huge deal, right? All of a sudden it's a massive deal. They're freaking the out because they don't want it. They don't want people like Abdul. They don't want people like Shoykot. They don't want people like Claire Valdez. They did not want someone like Ana Lilia Mejia in New Jersey. They don't want Graham Plattner. They don't want these guys that represent a difference of opinion, that want to actually do right by their constituents. They want controllable entities. They don't want Oliver Larkin, for example. They would much rather have someone like Moskowitz occupy that seat, and they're willing to lose elections. The greatest example of this is Zohran Mamdani. We saw how the establishment Democrats reacted to Zohran Mamdani. They tried to get him out when he won the primary. They didn't go, okay, it's time for vote blue no matter who. They actually turned around and tried to unseat him. They put up a right-wing opposition. They used a dynastic name in New York politics like Andrew Cuomo, in spite of the reality that he was a disgraced former governor who had to resign, right? And they were totally fine with doing that because Andrew Cuomo, in spite of his shortcomings, in spite of his awful behavior in office, is a controllable entity. He's not going to the bag up. He's not going to do the right things. Like, think about it. Think about how New Yorkers perceive Zohran Kwame Mamdani right now. It hasn't been that long since he's been mayor, and his popularity's only increased. He's doing a lot. He's being a great mayor, right? First and foremost, I might have my disagreements with him every now and then, but he's just a mayor for New Yorkers, right? He's there for them. What would an Andrew Cuomo race look like? What would an Andrew Cuomo mayoralty look like? Business as usual, right wing, everything sucks. We got to give all the money to the police. It would have been devastating. And Democrats prefer that because Democrats don't want to do work. They don't want someone who is going to actually be a positive example that is going to cause voters to demand more. They don't want someone like Zohran. They don't want 100 Zohrans running and winning because that would mean all of the other Democrats that are in positions of tremendous power in the national party, those Democrats are going to have to change their attitude. They're going to have to say no to their corporate sponsors, and they're terrified of that. The perceived incompetence discounts their cynical malice. If you think of this as third way miscalculating, you're mistaken. They know what they're doing. Trump is serving up a clear and popular anti-war pro-social services campaign for Democrats on a silver platter, and they will do anything they can to avoid that. Because no matter how corpo, no matter how centrist Democrats are, they actually do oftentimes present themselves as anti-Trump, right? Or they at least try to find a way to present themselves as anti-Trump. So if Donald Trump is viciously and super vulgar in his imperialism, right? Democrats have to be against that. And therefore, they have to lean into being anti-war. Third Way hates that. They don't want that. They want to make sure that Democrats are still in line with billionaires, in line with corporations. They want to make sure that the Democratic Party and the way that Democrats communicate on these issues do not, stray away or shy away from what they want, which is to keep the business as usual Kamala Harris style politics, right? It's been a failure on the politics front. It's obviously failed twice to Donald Trump, but it's also a failure to the people. And I'm not alone in this. This is something that I keep repeating over and over again. Something that I say all the time is look at the polls, okay? Look at the polls. Look at the way that the Democrats are being perceived right now. Look at the way the Democrats are being perceived right now. It's not popular. Here is Harry Emden talking about congressional Dems numbers with Democrats is atrociously awful, even worse among all voters. Most Dems think the party has the wrong priorities, okay? This is a massive, massive issue. It wouldn't be an issue if the Democrats actually were responsive to the needs of the people, right? And I said, we're here because corpo centrist pro-Israel Dems believe that Trump's unpopularity will be enough to give them marginal electoral victories without having to push for material changes that address the working class needs. People want real fighters. They want real change. This is at the heart of the conversation that we've been having for the last week. This is the major issue. People might try to misdirect. People might try to take your attention away. They might claim that it's actually about, anti-Semitism or whatever smear campaign that they're leaning into. But this, keep your eyes on the ball. Okay,